and thank you all for coming when it's so sunny outside and being inside here. And thank you, Laimikis, for inviting, and especially Ekaterina and Julius for taking care of me these days. So I will try to make the presentation shorter than 1 hour, 50 minutes or something, so we have time for questions, because also I had prepared some things, or I had in mind some things, but also yesterday talking to the people here, I thought that maybe some other things were interesting, so I changed a little bit what I was supposed to say, and we can also leave, I can just introduce some topics, and then if there's something that interests you better, we can develop on that on the question time. And so I'm Carles Baiges, which is not finishing in Lithuanian, but it's my name. And I'm part of LaCol, which is a cooperative of 14 architects. We're, well, there's 3 more people here in this picture, because now we're only 14. But we met all at the university on the same year, the same promotion. And we start having a renting space for working, because how many of you are architects here to have more or less an idea? I thought it would be better, worse, I mean more. So probably you know that when you're studying architecture, you spend a lot of hours during the week, at night, working on your models, on your all the things. And in our faculty in Barcelona, there was not much space for us to work, so we decided to gather all together since we had this problem and try to face it, saving costs, buying a printing machine, sharing all the materials, and also making classes to each other. So before presenting to other class, we will present to each other and help each other. When some had some deadline, others will support them. So that was our beginning. But then at the end of our degrees, we start doing some projects with the neighbors. We start collaborating with them, and we realized that we liked working together and that we liked this kind of more social attitude. And also it was the beginning of the crisis when we finished. So already before, situation was not good for architects, I would say, even if there was a lot of job, but after the crisis was even worse. So some of my colleagues, as most of my friends from the promotion, left to other countries, Brazil, Switzerland, Netherlands. But we decided to stay and to work differently. So we are a cooperative, as I told you, so that means that we are all owners of the office, and we all have the same responsibilities, the same pay, same salary. And we did that because we wanted to break with this system. Here I think it's also like this, that architects used to tend to have like their own firm with their name, and then they are the visible trademark of the office. But then behind that, there's 20 people working as slaves almost, with no recognition. And we didn't, yeah, maybe you feel identified with this definition. So we experienced that already as an intern during the degree, and we didn't want to reproduce that, neither as a slave, neither as a boss. So we decided to create this other system, which obviously requires us to develop new tools, methods, and skills about managing a company. And this is just one example of the thousands of spreadsheets that we have to look every week, and every week we have a meeting. Every 3 months we have a meeting for planning the next 3 months and revising the last 3 months if that worked, and new methods also for sharing the decision-taking processes, but also the design processes. Obviously, we're not all the 14 in all the same projects, because it would be undoable, unfeasible, but still, it's a common signature. So I have to be proud, and I have to see my own design in what others are doing, because they put my name in there also. So we develop some kind of inner participation processes for that anybody who wants to say something about some project, there's a moment for everybody to be involved in all the projects, even if they're not working on them. So that was just a short introduction about the office, because I thought it could be also interesting for your situation here. That's just, I will come later on these drawings, but it's just one drawing from one of these meetings we have every 3 months with these charts and with these decisions, but I will go later on that. And just a couple of images of the office, because I think that they show pretty well our way of looking at the wall and looking at the architecture and working. So we recycle, reuse, and we try to be as sustainable as possible, but also reusing what we already have. Either is a material, either is a building. So, for instance, the sign that hangs in the door of our office, it was a door that we took from one work that we were doing. We had to throw these doors and these windows, and we put them in our office entrance. And also, there's this little bench where anybody can sit. We go outside to eat because our studio is quite small, so we have our dinner in the street, also as a way to reclaiming that the street is meant to do that. And actually, we are doing every day something illegal, because 5 years ago they passed new public space regulation in Barcelona, really conservative, really going backwards. And for instance, putting a table to eat in the street is forbidden. So every lunch we challenge the law. But yeah, and also not only recycling, but also working with our hands ourselves. So we are not only drawing in our computer or by hand. We're not these artists closed in some office, but in lots of our works we also work there, and in our office we did 99% of all the construction of refurbishing of this old. It used to be a store, and it's also important for us to be in ground floor, not being in the top of a glass skyscraper, because it's also a way to show that we really are open to anybody who wants to come in and make any proposal. So we are in Barcelona in this neighborhood, Sants, which is a workers area where, while in the 30s it was really known for being like the cradle of the anarchist movement. So more or less you can imagine what kind of situation we have there on a ideological level. And we are not the only cooperative there. It's actually the neighborhood with more cooperative of different kinds of everything you can imagine, like bookshops, food stores, tea shops, everything. There's a market for that. And in this same neighborhood is where I'm going to tell you some of the projects are placed in this old factory called Camprubí. Camprubí is this gigantic old industry in the limit of the city, but you see it's almost, well, it's really populated around, and that was not abandoned, but it was slowly dying, because on the 70s the plan of the city decided that this had to be turned into facilities and park, and then they add also housing. But it was really slow process, and it was kind of dying and affecting all the neighborhood. When we moved when we opened our space in the neighborhood, we discovered this factory, which is, you see, it's giant. It's like 9 hectares, and we never saw it before. Even I was born in Barcelona, because it was really close. So, well, long story short, the neighbors were reclaiming this site for 30 years. When we came there, we start helping them. Well, that's a map of the area. So that's the place of the industry, but the plan also included this area here. So in total, it's like 14 hectares. That's the limit of Barcelona, but here you have the airport and another city, so it's actually surrounded by a city. And it was like a huge extension of land in the middle of the city. So after these 30 years of reclaiming, finally the neighbors got tired, and they put a deadline, and that if this deadline was not, that the machines of the municipality were not doing the plan that was promised 30 years before, they will occupy it. And the funny thing is that these people who said that they will occupy it, they were the same that were in the 70s reclaiming. So they were 60, 70 years old, and they were saying, yeah, we're going to occupy it. And they gathered like 1,000 of people there, and finally 2 days before, the municipality saw all the pressure, also in media, and some popular people gave their support, and finally they decided to give one of the buildings to make a community center there. And actually next week it's going to be the 4th anniversary of this image. So before getting in, we were helping the neighbors doing more understandable maps of the maps that the municipality was giving to them that we could not even understand, and we are urban planners, and we had to change it to more simply things that they could understand, because like this map is showing this plan, showing like all the buildings that the original plan was supposed to turn down, the park that was created just for this building, these towers that they want to sell. Well, first, before going in, was this process of translating these official maps to something that people could understand, but also all the proposals that the neighbors had already, we also transformed them in technical material that the people from the municipality could work with, and that really helped to go way faster than before our intervention. And then, I will skip that. Well, you have, before I go in deep, 2 years ago, or 3 years ago, it's now already a little bit old, but there's this documentary we made about this, interviewing different politicians and urban planners and architects and historians. And it has English subtitles, and it's in our website. So if you want to check it, it's 1 hour long, and it's quite dense, but I think it's interesting. And then that was the 3 projects I was thinking to talk today inside of this factory, but I will skip one of them. But basically, the first thing that happened was this this building here that they gave to the neighbors in 2011. Is this that you have here in the middle, 1,600 square meters. The municipality renovate the roof because there was some leaks, but then they leave it to us, just like this, like an industrial site, and nothing else. They didn't give us any tools, any money. Just they gave us the building and do whatever you want there, because that was our ultimatum. Like, if you don't make it, we're gonna make it. But that was kind of a pressure measure to them to make it. We didn't expect them to give us a building, but they gave us the building. Oh, you cannot see properly. Sorry. Well, you can imagine. It was like industrial site, plenty of big structures and everything. So it was first like 6 months of taking things off and making space for the new uses that the neighbors wanted, which the first one that was more symbolic was this library, because the neighborhood didn't have any library, and Barcelona has really strong policy for libraries. All the neighbors had one, but this neighborhood, because they were for 30 years promising them, whenever we have this factory, we will put it there. So that was quite symbolic. And now it's been going on for more than 3 years, voluntary run, opens 6 days a week, every day, only on Sunday it's closed. And all the books are also given by people and by associations, and it's not bad books. They even have some specific collections that are pretty important, and it's been one of the most successful projects inside of this cultural center. But now there's plenty of things, and here again we worked with these recycling ideas and with things that people could do, because all the work was volunteer by the neighbors themselves and ourselves. And it was no zero cost, because zero cost doesn't exist, probably you know, but it was almost zero cost. It was really from donations or from what we could take from the same place or from the surroundings. That was one. The next intervention we did, where the people are, that's the entrance of the library, where the door is now. And that we turn it into a meeting space also has a little bar. All the materials are recover from the same building. And then the next project that we did here, and that I will stand more because I think it's more interesting, and it reached more like our ideals of how to work these things. So that's looking to the other side of this bar. So if we turn to the left, you could see that before this wall, and behind this wall there was this space that was dividing the library, the auditorium, and the bar that we were. And we also had this problem that there's an upper floor, but there was only one little stair, 90 centimeters wide, so it was impossible to use for public uses. So we convinced them that, we convinced the neighbors that it was needed to make like a proper stairs to go up, also to make it more visible, accessible, and also to communicate better all the areas. So we started this project to make these stairs, which obviously it was again done by volunteer work and almost no materials. So it could not be just some stairs. We had to take as much as possible, to give as much as possible with this intervention. So it was also stage for performances. It was a place to be. And well, this is some of the things that we used to work with the neighbors. So that was our proposal, but obviously we worked it with them and made a lot of changes working with the neighbors. And we worked with these simple models that they could easily understand, and we didn't have to invest much time on them. Same as the computer-generated drawings. They're not like the best renders that you can see, that we also know how to do them, but instead of spending much time on that, we rather make more and more simple drawings that they could understand easily, because they obviously don't understand the maps. And they're not super beautiful. If you would bring that to your professor at the school, they would probably fail you, but they work for our purpose. And then there was this also graphics to invite people. First it was every Saturday, but then we also introduced Wednesday because there was a lot of unemployed people who wanted to come as well. So we did that in 6 months with volunteer work. Also here finally we got some support from the municipality with an occupation plan for people who was unemployed. And we got a super small grant from the Architects Association who allowed us to pay the materials. But here, in this case, also our job was volunteer. But again, it was like working with things that people could manage, like bricks and the small wood. And there was even some repetitive tasks to do, so that even in some days we had children like polishing the wood and everything. And finally, here you have the result. So here is where it used to be the wall. We tear it down, we open a hole here, and we build the whole staircase. And under the stairs, there's toilets. So it was one intervention, but that really made a lot of things. And now, as you see here, there's some storytelling, but every week there's activities that gather like from 50 to 100 people in this space. And well, now the project continued, not with much of our intervention. The neighbors themselves, they made a climbing wall, they made artist spaces, they made some rooms for having small classes. And it was such a success that actually the municipality, every few months, they're giving us new buildings next to it. So now we also have carpenters workshop for doing all these things, and it's been expanding and expanding. That's the second project I wanted to talk to you about. That it's also in this industrial site, and it's because when we started there, after they gave us the building, we said, well, it's important not to lose the big picture of it, not to lose the scale, and now focus in this small scale with our building, and then we play with that and we forget about the urban scale. So the project actually has different features, and one of them is housing, because well, before the crisis, it was a very dramatic situation. Now it's even worse. Here's some data that you know. So 75% of the people under 29 years, like me, are still living with their parents. 50 families, 50 families are every day, just in Barcelona, how do you call that? They're taken away from their houses. They lose their houses because they cannot pay their mortgages. 50 families every day. No, that's in all Catalonia. Sorry, not only in Barcelona. But well, you have an idea of, and at the same time we have 88,000 empty houses only in Barcelona. So there's a market-driven thing really not working there. So a group of people, more or less around this previous project, the Cambadio, started proposing an alternative model of housing. This meeting is actually happening in the auditorium of the cultural center, and they created this project that it's now, as I will tell you, quite advanced. The idea is, no. So we have a market in Spain, basically like owner-occupied houses. Like, I don't have the numbers here, but I think it's like 80% of the market is owner-occupied houses. Maybe less than 20% is rent, and less than 1% is social housing. So it's really social housing. It's a joke in Spain. So we wanted to promote some social housing, but not following the same model, because what happens now in Spain is that even social housing is owner-occupied. So you buy your sponsored house, and after 20 years, you can sell it again for the price of market price. So we're investing a lot of money in social housing, or some money, but we lose it after 20 years. So we did really want to break with this model, and we started looking in other models of cooperative housing, especially in one model in Denmark called Ander, and then a model in Uruguay ruled by the HubCamp, an organization of a cooperative. So in this case, it's called land lease cooperative. That means that we rent the terrain to the municipality. It's a public owned space, but we rent it for 75 years. And then we build our own building there. We paid for our building, but it's still social housing. And it's also an interesting case, because we are all owners of the cooperative, but we don't own our houses there. So there's no way that I can, after that, sell my house to somebody else for the price of the market. So I can go deeper on that after, but it's a process for breaking this market ruled economy of the housing. So just some numbers to make you understand. So as I said, we already signed the contract with the municipality for the renting of the place, and now we're in the process of looking for the almost 4 million that we need for the 2 million that we need for the construction of the building. It's like 30 units of different sizes. So for that, for all the people who's living there are gonna pay for 21% of the price. Then 22% it's coming from a ethic bank. It's actually a cooperative as well of credit. So they give us a credit with a really good advantages. And then most of it, actually, we're gonna start right before the summer campaign for asking for micro loans from people that we will return them the money in 5, 10, 15 years. So I will inform you more also if you're interested in investing in this project. That's just a drawing of the design that we were working on it. But basically, it's also interesting on an architectural level and sociological level, because there's a lot of shared space. Like, kitchens are smaller than in a normal house, because we have common kitchen. There's all the laundry is also shared, all the warehouse, all the, well, like the bikes, the storage, and all these things is out of the house as well. So at the end, all this block you see here, it's common spaces, while the actual houses are in the other side facing the new park. So and it's been also really interesting to develop, because it's not like the common client that you will have for a private housing, or the common client you will have for a shared or a big apartment building. So here, not only us, but together with the people from this cooperative, some of them are architects, but some not. We are working on a participatory design or contribution of the design of this project. And the interesting thing is that we started really far away. Like, this is the first thing we did, asking people to send pictures about how they imagine their houses. And we classified these images to try to see, like, I don't know, people had a lot of exterior spaces, which is unusual. But in Spain, that we have really good weather, we don't have big terraces or balconies. But there was people did want that. But actually, when you go to the market, the real estate companies, they don't offer that. But if you ask people, they do want that. They also had in mind this lot of collective spaces, so on. We obviously play with post-its. There's no participation process without post-its. But the important thing here, I would say, because we were also talking about that yesterday, how these kind of things, they cannot be just a play, just a game. And it's easy to make post-its and put them there, but the hard part is actually to process them after. So this is an example. We were asking people about these shared spaces, these shared facilities. So that's one of the things, for instance, that we did use this classic tool, like a post-it, but then we gather the information, we processes it, we go back again in the next meeting, say, hey, well, that's the results of all the families, and we work on that. It's not that we just leave the post-its there. And also, we're going to the details. So now we asked people to draw their own houses in a really easy way. Like, you have these squares, every square is 50 centimeters, just draw approximately your house. Because that's something when probably if you work on participation, you realize that people who's not architect don't understand measures. And when we were telling them, well, now your new living room is gonna be 3 meters for 5 meters, they were like, well, this 5 meters from here, from there, or from here to there. So on most of the workshops we do, for instance, what we do is drawing the space where we are and putting measures about it. But in this case, we ask people to draw their own house, so they have the spaces they know, they have it in mind, and they know what measure, and then we can compare it to what we are proposing. But also then we could talk about things they like from their house and they would like to keep, things they don't like, and work on that, and not just starting from zero. Because people have a lot of knowledge, but you need tools to extract this knowledge. And then we work a lot of, well, now it's quite simple, but on that we work a lot with the schemas and axonometries that we paint, and like with this, for instance, we decided to separate the common spaces and the private spaces, while at the beginning it was more mixed, but using these techniques to see the environmental impact and so on, we were able to go really deep on the discussion with people who's not an architect. That's the third project that I just will announce, and I will not go on that, but it's so the previous, we already have the land, and we are now looking for the money. That one is in a more primary stage, but it's also going forward. That was another of the things that we wanted to do in this area, because at the beginning, as I told you, the plan was supposed to be facilities, park, and housing. But we need jobs now. That's what we need in Spain. We don't need, like, for instance, they wanted to make the museum for urbanism, and we were like, okay, who wants a museum of urbanism that would cost 10 millions, will cost 1 million every year to take care of? We need jobs. So we proposed this company enterprises hub and incubator. But in this case, there's others in the city already, some public, some private. But in this case, it's going to be focused only on social enterprises, like us, like cooperatives, foundations, NGOs, so any kind of company that has a social value, social organization. And again, it's going to be reusing one of the buildings, and just from here, I would like to highlight that another thing that we learned from all these processes is that it's important to start. Like when we got in this factory, we start. Day one, we were already doing meetings, doing concerts, doing everything in the industry, even if it was still an industry and it was not cultural center. But that brought us from, I don't know, maybe we were 100 people at the beginning, now maybe we're 400. And if you had been all those 4 years waiting and not doing nothing, and probably will be, again, 100 or even less. So I think it's important to start. And here we are working on this project. It's coming from the social enterprises from the neighborhood, but we are working with the municipality, and we're convincing them to make like a first phase, starting day 0, adapting one really little space of the building to start doing some co-working space there to attract the people who will be interested then in occupying the rest of the building. So I think it's important to start doing things, not thinking and planning, and it's better to just improve on the way. But yeah, that's all I wanted to say about this project. And that's another one that I add today, but since I was told that you're working more on tools, I thought it would be interesting to see that project and go deeper on the tools. So that's a project we did last year in Sant Boi, which is a city next to Barcelona, a smaller city, that they used to have this big cultural center with 2 big theaters, that from different ages of the 20th century, that now was kind of abandoned. Some people occupied. The municipality bought the building, and they asked us to make some participation process to design with the people who first occupied how had to be this new cultural center. And so here it was again like bottom-up initiative, but at the end the municipality supported, and in this case they paid for our intervention here. Just one image, it's quite weird because at the end was a club, but it has 2 really big theater spaces. And here we use different tools. Mostly, I was thinking today that maybe it's different from what you're working now, because we already normally work with communities that are more or less established, so it's not much that we are stopping people in the street. But in this case, in this project, I also wanted to bring it because in this case we also tried to open the group, so not stay only with the people who were occupying, because they were quite small, just like 10 people, and we wanted to engage the rest of the citizens and open the project to everybody. So in this case, we also set a website, it was quite important to be transparent and upload all the documents we were using, and as well as to engage some people that maybe otherwise have no time to come to the meetings, or maybe after the meeting they think something else, so there was also some forums to express that. But I think it was mostly important to, as a content, to be transparent about all the process, because actually here's where we upload all the documents we were using, all the decisions that were taken. And yeah, here, I wanted to make a small break now that we were talking about these technological tools, because we basically do more handmade, we enjoy better reality, let's say, but we also, I think it's important to rely on this all the technologies that we have available as, not as a substitute, but a complement of what we already have in real life. So here we didn't stop doing anything because we did the website. We did exactly the same as we didn't have a website. And here I just wanted to bring 2 screenshots from another project we did 3 years ago, because we were saying that yesterday with Ekaterina, because we also did in this project collaborative mapping. And we normally do collaborative mapping with people in the workshops, so with paper, with markers, post-its and everything. But especially myself, I wanted to experiment with internet-based collaborative mapping. And just funny story, so we set this website, I will tell you later how, and after we published the website, the sociologist in the group we had in this project came with the numbers of the neighborhood, and it happened that I think like 70% or 80% of the population was more than 70 years old, women coming from other parts of Spain with no education and no access to internet. So it's always, we have to think about the tools we use if they are accurate for the work we are doing. In this case, it was not a fail, but almost. I mean, like 10 people said something, but it was less than we expected because you have to measure first if it has sense, what you're doing. Anyway, if you want to use it, in this case, we used this open source app done by this office from Madrid, Ecosistema Urbano, and they're really nice because they publish it open source in GitHub, and it works on WordPress, so it's quite easy to work with, and it's quite easy to click and add things, comment on them. We made it even easier, but still, yeah, if you don't have internet, then you cannot collaborate to that. Yeah, end of the break. And continuing with this project in San Boi with the cultural center. So as I told you, we're not normally shouting at people in the street, come to us, but for instance, in this case, and in other cases, we try to do as much as we can outdoors as a way to engage with people who's just passing by, as being also transparent. And if not, we try to do most of our workshops not in the municipality, but in other places that are more, that people has less anger or less fear about, that they could feel more invited, like the library, like the community center. I don't know, I think even sometimes we use the church, or I mean, whatever, it's people feels more comfortable. And also, in this case, as you see, while I'm talking here, my colleague here, it's drawing, and that's what the first draw I show you. We can now explain you. Like in this case, again, I'm working in some table, and my colleague is drawing. So what she's doing is this records. So after every meeting, you have a record where you write everything, and normally these records, they're super boring, and there are 4 pages that nobody reads. So we learned together with a colleague this more kind of storytelling, really visual records that they're complementary. We still do the written forms, and you still have the written form that nobody reads, but it's important that it's there just in case there's discussions about the decisions taken and everything. But we learned that with these drawings, people would will look at it, and they will also share it a lot. So what we do is, well, during the meeting, as you see, it's been done, so it's again, super transparent because everybody's seeing at real time what she's drawing, and if she's doing some mistake, you can correct her. But after the meeting, well, that's different formats. That's like the giant format. Here it's like more in a notebook that she makes. And then just right after the meeting, she uploads that on Twitter, Facebook, and people love it. I mean, they retweet it, they see themselves draw, they see the sentences that they said, the decisions that were taken, and they share it. So that's a good thing that people knows more about it. There will come more people the meeting after that because they're sharing it. So that, I think that's a good example of how using technology in a good way. Another thing we usually do on all these kind of projects is making people visit the buildings or the construction sites that they have, or that we are discussing about. Sometimes because they've never been there, like this theater was closed for the last 10 years, so this, for instance, these young people here, they never saw it, or because they have to see the state. Like, actually this space was what bring us there, because the municipality wanted to demolish it. They said that it was in bad conditions, and the young people who were occupying, they protested. So they said, okay, well, let's make this participation process, and we decide. And the funny thing is that a lot of these people who were really angry at the beginning, saying, you are lying to us, we should keep the theater, it's part of the history and everything. After we did the process, after they saw the actual conditions, after we showed them how much would cost to make a new one, what could we have, pros and cons, and after we discuss it, a lot of people change their mind. So it's not about that the people is nostalgic or whatever, it's that people don't have the information. And in this case, it was really clear that was the case, that people didn't have the information enough to judge, because it's not like people is stupid. When we told them, okay, refurbish this theater will cost us 4 millions, and we will have a bad theater. If we spend 4 millions, we will have a new theater, good theater, but we don't have the history. So what do we want? And people, they have their own values, and they can decide, okay, maybe I want to invest public money in a better way. So that was one of the reasons for doing the visits, and we did it, as I told you, in other projects, and even if it's difficult, I think it's, we have to make it. And in this case, that's why we were wearing helmets, because it was not super dangerous, but something could fall. But also, actually people like it, and it was really funny to go with the helmets, and people were taking pictures of themselves with the helmets, going to the construction site. And it's always been the most popular activity we always make in all kind of projects, like visits, open visits too, even if it was, in this case, the old building, so you think that people will have interest in seeing old buildings. But in another case was, it was a public space, indeed, that was in construction for years. So still, it was open. I mean, you could see it from outside, but we organized visits to it, to make workshops inside of the place, and still people came more than other kind of projects. And as well, working with the model, even if in this case we didn't use it much, it always attracts people like honey and the bees, sugar and the bees. They come when you put it in the public space, they come. And we always consider it, because it's, you know as well, that it takes a lot of time. It's time consuming to make a model, but it really helps not only to understand, but to attract the people. I think I can leave it here, because I was also bring another project, but depending on the questions, we can go to this other project or no. And so we have 45 minutes for going back to some things if we're not clear.
I would like to ask you, what is the biggest challenge to work with the community from your practice? If you can tell actually the story, like one story where...
No, I think one of the biggest challenges we have, like for instance in this project, even if that when you are super motivated, and even in this case the municipality was for it, But, well, you know, it's difficult to engage people, and I know that we have different stories, and like here in Spain, but in Spain, even if we come from like from the 70s, it was 70s, 80s, there was a lot of neighborhood engagement, and now it's increasing again. For the 90s, beginning of the 2000, people get used to do nothing, and if they, as maximum, they will complain, but they will ask the municipality to do it, or they will think that they have nothing to say. So I think that the hardest thing we are finding is that actually now there's more and more municipalities who are favored. They're not the enemy anymore. Then you don't have to convince them. They come to you like, oh, I want to make a participation process on this topic. And sometimes you have to tell them, makes no sense. I mean, we can try, but, or it would be really hard. So I think, well, the problem is that we want it now, and it will take time to educate people, to explain them that they can participate, that they can have a voice, that they can have an impact on society. And I think nowadays, at least in Spain, it's changing quite fast, but still, that's one of the problems we face quite a lot. That it sounds, I show you these projects in Camprubí, which are really big, but they're quite an exception. I mean, other projects happen that in a smaller scale, but they don't have the strength and the critical mass behind to lead these projects. And that's definitely something that, well, I don't know, in this project, for instance, we also work with the communication guy to make us a video, but still, it was really difficult to break this attitude of, I have nothing to do with that, they will make me a super nice theater here, and I don't want to know anything until it's done. Yeah.
I wanted to ask how strongly community can change your project, or how did you ever tried to make the dialogue with community from the scratch, from the blank paper to start doing it?
Yeah, in some cases, one of the first projects we had, it was like again a historical building next to our office, and the first idea was just that we wanted to protect this historical building that was empty and there was nothing in it, and there we started from, okay, what should we do in there? And now that was 4 years ago, and now it's already under construction. In this case, it was not self-built. It's the municipality who, so we started 1 year of from bottom-up initiative, discussing about what to do in this building. But it was really interesting because we took all the stages. So from the programming, we will say, like to decide which uses to do in the building, to which spaces we needed, to how these spaces should be connected. And the very last workshop was 3 tables, which one of them was discussing about just one room, deciding the technical details like materials, disposition. So we could go from all stages. And in this case, we didn't make the design because it was a public building, so there had to be a public competition for choosing the architect. But we did like book like this, saying all the things that people said about how this building had to be done. And at the final result, so there was like a competition where 80 architects present some proposal. We helped to choose the architect, and finally, the final design, it's really pretty close, like 95% to what people decided. And that was from zero to the small details of materials.
Again? Yeah. So my question is about the example you showed, the interactive mapping and kind of failure, not exactly maybe. So for example, what would be your advice? How to define your so-called market before you start any project or an app or something like that? Should NGOs invite some sociologists to do pro bono work for them? Because usually NGOs don't have that much of money to hire some companies. So maybe you have some practical examples on how to prepare yourself and your project for starting.
So, well, yeah, in this case, I'm a little bit biased because besides architect, I'm sociologist as well. So maybe my answer is not 100% impartial, neutral. But yeah, in all cases, we tend to work with sociologists or anthropologists or also people from economy. And these examples that I showed you, the first one, it's volunteer also for our work, and the two others we've been paid from the housing cooperative or from the municipality. And yeah, that's also a thing that nowadays this neighborhood reclaim campaigns and everything, they also have a lot of professionals. And like this other example I was telling you the last, we also at the end were hired by the municipality, but we started pro bono, and we were not the only professionals there. There was also, for instance, a journalist who made all the contacts with all the media and who made us be on the journals every month. So she was also doing her work. And well, if you have you're lucky enough to have other professionals, like not only architects, that's great. But yeah, at the end, I guess it's better if you have some budget to. But obviously if you're not making money yourself, you cannot ask. It's fair to ask to others not to gain if we are all doing it for some political cause or some common cause. But yeah, I guess here as well in Spain it's a huge debate in the collectives about the professionalization of these kind of things. Even for ourselves has been debate, and we have a certain amount of hours that we can devote to non-profit projects, but at the end we have to live. So we also have, even if they are social, we also have profit projects.
I also thought, listening to your presentations and this range of cases you presented, that one of the topic which is a kind of link between these projects is this topic of communication. And it's interesting how you develop a new visual language, thinking about how people are used to read architectural visualizations. Because really, I also find it in Lithuania that when some visualizations made by architects are presented in public space, people are not used to read them. So these examples you presented here, like speaking about building stairs with the people from the streets and making these stairs visible for these people, then drawing these measures of the room with people, and then the storytelling thing is like three instruments to make people used to this visual language. So maybe you could add some other tools you also use in this area of visualizing this architectural experience.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, as other tools we used, well, first of all, the computer-generated, or even, well, drawing, but mostly computer-generated. I think it's really dangerous how we use it, even in official, especially like big corporations, but also like municipalities who present these computer-generated images really nice, and that with a lot of detail, and that people fall in love really fast with them because they see some nice utopic place that at the end will never look like that. And that also is leaving a lot of the debate. Like for instance, with I don't have the pictures here, but with this case of the factory, as I told you, so all that you see, all these buildings, they were to tear down. Now they already demolished that one, but they haven't demolished those here yet. And it's one of the rare cases of an entire factory that survived to our days in Barcelona. And I don't have more photos, but the ambience of these little streets in between these buildings, brick buildings, kind of Manchester, it's really, really unique. And it took us 4 years, but now we already convinced some of the neighbors that we should keep that. And also now the municipality is quite convinced that we're not gonna demolish these buildings, even if the plan says so. And that was one of the things, because when neighbors, they wanted the park, and it's I understand it, and it's obviously, because this is a really, really dense area with no green spaces, so they have the right to have this park. But what happened? That the private company who was developing this area was making these super nice 3D computer-generated images of the park. And they fall in love with these images they had. And then it's really, really dangerous, because they lose all the debate before. And what we did is like, okay, no, stop looking at these images. Let's go one step further. This park that you have here, like that's what it was planned. It's meant to have, it's not meant for you. It's not, because you see there's only one little axle here. So it's not meant for the people living here. It's meant for the people who's gonna build these towers to make more profit. So we had to go one step beyond this drawing and make simple drawings about the towers, about the park, showing them this is what they're doing. This is not this image that it's decided where to look and that it's super pretty and that it will never be like that. So that's one of the dangers of the computer-generated, super beautiful images that computers are able to do. And then we also work a lot with comparing with other examples that they know, like visiting other places. Like in this case, we told them about another park that they made in Barcelona. Maybe you've been Diagonal Mar. It's made by the famous architect Miralles, well, his office. And it's this kind of park that it's meant for adding value to the towers, not people to be in. So we use other examples, either visiting or either bringing pictures. Sometimes we also work one-scale models. So, for instance, the bar I showed you before, this bar that's here. Before making it, we draw it with tape on the floor, and there we adjusted the final measures with the people who were to be the bartenders and all the space they could have. So that's something else that we use. And I couldn't find the image, but in the last project I showed you, we developed for the first time, that was really interesting, like a sort of game to make them understand the sizes, because when we were deciding, okay, how big has to be the theater? How big has to be the second theater? How big has to be the social space? And again, you could tell them 300 meters, 400 meters, and they also had in mind that when you make these buildings, you have a maximum square meters you can build. You cannot go until whenever you want. So to play with that, we made them like some squares. Oh no, it was actually like a rectangle. And then all the possibilities were like some kind of cards with the size of each kind of space they could have. And they had to play with that. So okay, if you want theater for 1,000 people, and then you cannot have the artist space, because it doesn't fit, doesn't get in of the, so it was like a game. It was really visual, and they could understand super easily, more than, I don't know, probably first we tend to make these bubbles that of relations and sizes, but bubbles are really bad for having comparing the size of things, because the double of surface it's not visually so so quick seen as two rectangles who are one to each other. No? So these are, it's kind of been kind of a mistake, an improvement process that we go to one meeting, we see that they don't understand the measures, and we say, okay, we have to create something to make them understand what the surfaces are.
I have a question also about the tools you use. And I would like to come back to the project Borda, I think, of social housing. When you had these answers about expectations of people of this posting game, how did you analyze it, this corpus? I mean, do you have some methods, some tools, some kind of grouping these ideas, because they're pretty different?
How can I explain to you? Sad I don't have, is there internet here? Because maybe I can show you online. Yeah, I mean, obviously you have to group it somehow. In this case, it was just grouping answers of the people, like, yeah, materials, light, things related to the kitchen. So trying to add as much as possible and to see how many people talked about these things. So just doing some kind of summary of the results. It was already more than seeing 100 post-its in the wall that you see nothing. I mean, already in the workshop, here you can see you can move the post-its. So we put them together, we group them, but it was also nice to have this. And in the other case, well, I will go to the website so I can show it to you. It was more visual and it was quite, yeah, it worked pretty well. Also for us, not only for the attendance of the workshops. So that was the other project I was telling you when answering you, Julius, that we, at the end, we just gave this kind of recommendations of the program, which things had to be together, so on. But in this case, we started with, oh, no, I thought there was, oh no, there's no, the drawing I was looking for. Well, in this case, we started with online survey with the organizations of the neighborhood. We asked them which uses, which activities they have, which of these activities needed some space, and then again we had to group these activities, and maybe we can see it here. So we made a diagram. So in this case, like all these, it's visual tools we have as an architect. We have been trained to work with drawing and everything. So this, in this case, was a diagram grouping all the answers about these needs of space. They were grouped in 4 groups, and then they were put in the building where they should be. But all this that could be also like explained and made with tables and everything, we try to make it also quite visual so that anybody could see it. Yeah. We can wait until the charge, and then I don't know if that answers your question.
Maybe I will ask also you to comment as far as yesterday you mentioned that in Barcelona, LaCol is making kind of preparing kind of toolbox, collecting all kind of methods organizations use working with communities and with citizens. So maybe you could comment on this toolbox, because you're in the process of preparation of it, and it's also very actual for Lithuanian context, because we're about doing the same thing here. So yeah, it would be
I was
interesting
thinking
to
if showing you something, but it's actually quite still not prepared. Wait, let me finish with that now that I am, and then I go back to your question. But in this case, so how can I make this bigger? So as you see, that's like a classic table where we put all the square meters. That was the result, let's say, of this need of space of, too heavy. Yeah, and here on the right you see so each of these are one association of the neighborhood, one organization. That's their reply of needs. Each color represents a group, so there was like everyday activities, once every while activities, needs for space for warehouse, and needs that could be administration needs. And then we group them together, and this thing that it's so easy make us realize that there were so many things overlapping, so many people who needed space for tables. And then we realized, oh, all the organizations have tables. Maybe we could just have all together tables, share it, and save some space. Or then with this also we saw, oh, this organization makes some workshops in the morning because they're work for unemployed people, while this organization, they make meetings in the afternoon because it's where people can meet. So why don't we have the same space? So this was really handy. And then, yeah, as you said, we are now working, one of the projects we're having that I hope we will finish, we're supposed to finish on summer, but it's going to be after summer, and probably next year it's going to be in English. It's a book, a guide about participation tools, because we realize that there's a need for documenting these things and sharing, because we also learned from other experiences, but they're not always available. That you have to go there, ask people, and be present there, or like now traveling from far away. So we really saw that there was this need of sharing, especially, well, that's a little bit my idea, but especially more from a Latin perspective, because there's some things from England, United States about participation, but definitely every society has different ways of acting to your other people and reacting to things. So in this case, it's going to be a guide with, I think it's 20 different tools about participation for like these things I'm telling you. We also made a few months ago a call for projects where we selected 15 projects for the paper version and 30 projects for the digital version from Spain, South America, Italy, France. And then, well, we also will focus a lot on the process, because another thing we see a lot now, because yeah, there's an uprising of these approaches, but they are sometimes kind of banalized. No, there's super easy to find people either bottom up or either top down municipalities making so-called participation processes. It's happening at the same like sustainability, you know, like it's super easy to say we are participatory, we make this post-it event this afternoon, but nobody knows what happens with this post-it. So we're gonna focus a lot that these processes have to be real processes, have to start, be quite open also at the beginning to let some variation develop. They need their time. It's not something that you can do in 2 weeks, and then have some conclusion and some return to the people who participated and some real impact on the world, because otherwise you're making people lose their time, and that's not really fair. So yeah, that's more or less the goal of the book.
So thank you so much then.
Thank you.